Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 2 of Young Guns. My name is Tyler,
And my name's Louis.
and today we're going to be talking about hockey. Yes, the season is back, and so are we. So, Lou, what is up with your summer?
I mean, not too much, honestly. With quarantine, it's kind of hard being off the ice and everything. If new listeners don't know, we're both hockey players and we're both
Yeah.
sorely missing being on the ice. But honestly, it's not too bad. Right now, I'm in New York, which was kind of like the epicenter of the whole Corona situation. But the good
Yeah,
thing is, apparently, we've hit our peak here, so
that's
like
good.
it should be all uphill from here or all downhill if you want to look at the curve. So
Yeah,
that's good. Even though there's no ice, I've been able to still sort of keep up with my hockey life a little bit. I'm able to. I bust out the old roller skates, so we're going to Central Park and sort of taking those old things for a whirl. So that's pretty fun. The only problem though is like when you're used to ice, it's so nice and smooth, but then there's in Central Park there's like the little branches and whatever
yeah,
that, like always nick you and you always bust your ass. But
totally agree.
it's still fun. And other than that, I'm just training and trying to stay somewhat in shape, even though obviously it's not the same without the gym or anything. But just doing what we can. What about you?
I got a job. I'm living in Hawkesbury right now, so it's not much of a populated city. So COVID is still affecting us, but like probably not to your scale. Um, Other
Yeah.
than that, hockey wise, I bought a hockey shot, crowd goes wild type of thing just to shoot pucks. I shoot pretty much like 100 pucks every 2 days or so, because I'm busy
Lucky.
with work and all that stuff. But like I try and still train here and there, go on bike rides. I also have roller skates, but they hurt my ankles, so I don't skate that much with those. um,
You don't have the dedication. That's what it is.
yeah, I've been watching tons of highlights on hockey and tons of reaction videos, stuff like that, just because I'm missing it quite a bit. But now that we have good news, we wanted to talk about it and share our opinions on that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know about you, but like every time I'll like click what I think is a new highlight, and I'll see it that I've already liked it, and that's when I realize that I'm just going around in circles.
Yeah. I mean, when you find the right highlight video, you can watch it all day pretty much. Like it's so good.
Yeah. Of course,
All
I'm
right.
a goalie, so I'm gonna be watching all the epic save
Different.
compilations, but
That is true.
yeah, different
Contrary to
different
me.
compilations for different tastes.
Yeah. So 24 playoff team. The Shall we explain the format first? How it's been confirmed that there's going to be
Yeah,
basically a round robin between the high teams, and then the low teams are going to be doing a 3 out of 5.
yeah. So essentially, what's gonna happen is that you got the top seeds in every division that are going to be playing in a round robin and sort of deciding the seeding based on that. And then technically, it's not playoffs officially unless you're one of the round robin teams because the first round that we're going to go over here is actually to play into the playoffs. So let's
Yeah.
say if you're, Toronto, you get knocked out by Columbus or something, then actually Toronto technically did not make the playoffs this season. But I mean, let's be honest, it's a playoff bracket. It's basically
Yeah.
playoffs. It's just more rounds. But yeah, so the top seeds get to battle it out in a round robin, and then the um, rest of the teams get to play in, and then 7 teams are going to be left out of the playoffs, and Montreal's the last in. So we kind of squeaked by on that.
Yeah. Montreal and Chicago, pretty much last teams. For our matchup, what do you think? Do you think we can beat the Pens?
Well, I mean, my the fan in me says yeah, but the Pens are a pretty strong team. Obviously, they're perennial contenders. But honestly, if Carey Price can get hot, anything can happen. So what about you? What do you think?
I'd have to agree with your Carey Price. If he gets hot like that series we were talking about with the Sens where he shut them out basically in game 6, if he can be like that for the whole series, then we can
Yeah.
go ahead. But then if we do win, we're going to be facing off another good team. So it's not like we're out of the woods if we even beat the Pens. Back for like playoffs,
Oh.
which would
Wow.
be he was like he's probably coming back, but like maybe he'd miss like the first few games, which could be a big thing for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for the Penguins, it's kind of you don't know what you're gonna get because I think that core is sort of more on the decline than anything else. But at the same time, they've been winning so much. But then you look
Yeah,
at their series against the Islanders, like they got swept in 4 games. The Islanders were not. I don't think the Islanders are particularly amazing team. They got swept in the next round by Carolina. So if my memory serves me right, anyway, but so they're not invincible, is what I'll say, and it's kind of also a toss up as to who they'll start in net if they'll go for Jari or Murray.
Jari,
But
yeah.
then again, like when they had Fleury and Murray, they had the same problem, and they still went to the Cup final and won it. So can't say that would be too much of it's more of it's a good problem to have if you don't know which of your good goalies you want to start.
Yeah, exactly. Not like us where we only have Price basically, which kind
Yeah,
of brings me to my next point. What is going to be our lineup for the Montreal Canadiens 2020 playoff run?
yeah. Well, I think a key question there is obviously whether Romanov is going to be able to play, and
That is so true.
I don't know that. Well, this is the thing: is that Romanov is a really solid defensive player who really controls the gap well and everything. But I don't know if he's going to make that much of an impact um, at his level of comfort. Like, it just there's an adjustment period when you go to the NHL, and not everyone can be like Cale Makar, just like
Yeah,
walking into the playoffs and dangling down Main Street. So I don't know how much of an effect he can have, but if he can be a solid player, that'll be a big plus for sure.
I'm assuming he would start on like the third defensive pair
Yeah.
with Flurry maybe, or that's what I was going to go into. I saw this lineup, which I think I do agree with.
So you think Fleury would be up for the playoffs? Because they sent him down.
I mean, who
He
else?
was good. He was good at the beginning of the season, but he started to lose his way. I thought a little bit.
That is true, but Kulak, I mean, it's pretty much they all have a chance now. I mean, they've had 2 months off. Whoever's going to be trained, whoever's going to have a hot start is probably just going to be playing.
Yeah, that's true. I'm a pretty big Kulak guy, so I like Kulak. I think he's a good two-way defender. But
Yeah.
honestly, he could lose his spot. He could lose his spot as easily as anyone.
The first thing I think we should cover, since you're a goalie, is of course the first spot in goalie is going to be Price, but who's going to take that second spot? Are we taking Primo or are we sticking with Lindgren? Even though they're probably not going to play that much.
That's an interesting one, honestly. Uh, a sleeper pick is the Russian goalie that they signed. I forget his name exactly, and even if I had it in front of me, I'd probably butcher it
But
for him.
yeah,
Um, but he has experience in the KHL, so but it might be tough. Like it depends also how much exposure the players get, like how much they see him in a potential training camp and whatever. If they're comfortable with going with him, because I'm not
that's
sure
true.
that throwing Primo into the fire like that, is necessarily that um, smart for his development. But honestly, if I'm being objective, I think he's definitely the best player or the best goalie that we have in the system. So if you're just going based off that, then Primo would have to be. He's already basically on the cusp of an NHL regular for me.
Yeah.
But ideally, I would have him in the AHL one more year to really develop and start like dominating, and also to create a winning culture in Laval, which is needed as well.
This could be his make or break moment kind of thing where he could make a name for himself and then just never look back.
Yeah,
If he
that's true.
starts winning in Montreal, then this can open many doors. Like, do we trade Price, get a bunch of assets, keep Primo, or that
That's true. That's
spurs
true.
lots of things.
Take a big step and then yeah, that's true.
It's kind of like Murray when they had Fleury.
Yeah,
They had two goalies, and then they decided to go with Murray, and then gave up Fleury for nothing. But like,
even Binner, he
yeah,
stepped in and pretty much he went from refusing ECHL assignment to leading the Blues to their first Stanley Cup. So you don't know what could
you
happen.
never know. Which is why I think I'd agree with you. Your call is like putting Primo in second, and
Mm,
also he's not going to be playing more than like 1 or 2 games a series. Yeah, unless
Unless
Price gets injured or anything like
yeah,
that. But
the worst would happen. But let's just we can cross that bridge when it comes, if it comes.
exactly. And then if we look at the defensemen, the pairs, would you stick with Sherratt with Weber and then Kulak, Petrie, Mete, and Juleson, Fleury, or Ouellet, basically?
That's an interesting one because for me, Sherrod has pretty much outplayed his expectations this season. He's been, a great addition, big guy, and he's also contributed pretty well in terms of points. But
Yeah.
at the same time, he doesn't sound like a. Let's be honest, like Sherrod Weber doesn't really sound like a dominant playoff pair, especially if you got some really fast guys. Like Weber's not necessarily as mobile as he was, so like I don't know. What do you think? What would be your sort of ideal combination for defenseman?
This would be hella risky, but I'd have to go with Romanov with Weber since Romanov's going to
Oh,
be fast.
damn.
He is a rookie. I don't know. I think he's good defensively. He carried the team in the tournament at the start of the season, or sorry, in December with Russia. And then I
Yeah,
put
yeah.
Sherratt with Petrie because Petrie and Sherratt are like probably Petrie's faster, but like at least Sherratt is tough. And then Petrie still has that offensive side, and then Mete and Fleury. Kulak could also be in, but like I think who else would you want to put in that first spot? I mean, Weber and Sherratt were good, but like you're saying, they're not fast, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are pretty freaking quick if we talk honestly. So we'd have to have like a good solid first and second pair.
What do we think about maybe potentially putting Petrie on the first pair? Like we could either have him play his offside with Weber, or we could just have him take on the right side, and then maybe like I'm just spitballing, but like I remember a Petrie Kulak pairing worked pretty well actually when it was put out there. I don't know if it's obviously a top line pairing, but Kulak strikes me as like the kind of guy that could maybe carry those minutes because he's like defensively pretty good. He's like pretty mobile. Not necessarily anything special, but like at least he could fill that spot.
At least for this period, this short period, probably. I think I'd have to agree. He could probably do that for maybe not the whole series, but like at least for some time. I think.
The thing for me that I don't really like as well is Mate on the bottom pair
Yeah.
because, and I'm not saying necessarily because Mate's a great, like, let's be honest, Mate's been kind of shaky at times this season, but like, I want to see him playing to his strengths, which is, he's like a little like mobilette, it's like people who don't understand French won't get that, but he's like a rover, he's like really, really good skater, but he's not necessarily very good in his defensive end, and he kind of gets bullied sometimes in the corners or in front of the net. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's suited for the responsibilities of a bottom pairing guy. He's not a defensive guy. I want to see him playing to his strengths.
So would you have like Mete play with Petrie
Uh,
or Weber even?
it's tough.
Like,
Maybe we could try to bust out the Weber Mete pairing again because it has been good at times, but it's all very risky. Like let's be honest. You look at that left side. It's not ideal. I could see your assessment. Like maybe I would do Romanov Weber on the first pair, and then but maybe sort of shelter that pairing so that they don't sort of play the legs off Weber as well. Because the other thing is like these are going to be really long playoffs, so we need to save
Yeah.
Weber. He's not at his prime anymore.
To be fair, though, people have had 2 months break, so it's kind of like a new season, So there's that argument to be made.
That's true. He will be fresh. I worry about his longevity a little bit.
Yeah, I think to be fair though, Weber is probably like freaking beast. So I think he'd last through anything just to win a cup.
Well, yeah, he would play for sure because he's a warrior. But I want him to be good. Is the thing like?
Yeah, that's true. Still having Sherratt and Weber, although they're not fast, we could put them in the second slot against like the second line like Malkin. Whereas we could have Kulak and Petrie together as like our first pair. Because let's be honest, we're probably going to be playing the top two pairs a lot more than we're going to be playing the third pair.
Yeah. What about Romanov Petrie as a top pair? Because Romanov's good with his gaps and defensively he can hit guys, and Petrie's more of a puck mover, skater, but he's also Romanov's skating is elite too, but
yeah,
but Petrie's more offensively minded, but he's also a big guy, so maybe they could complement each other in that way,
Yeah, those are really things that Claude Julien I think is going to have to figure out during the training camp.
Yeah,
trying to make the best lineup possible for beating the Pens and then going the long way. At least though, our chances for going to the playoffs have gone up.
well, yeah,
plus.
They've gone up from 0 pretty much.
Yeah.
Do we want to look at offensive lines next?
Yeah.
All right.
So next, always, I think we don't have to change this one. Danault, Tatar, and Gallagher. That was going really well.
Yeah, that's a solid line always.
And then we could have Suzuki, Drouin, Armia, Kotkaniemi, Domi, and Byron, and then Lehkonen, Evans, and another guy, whoever.
Yeah.
Could be, and we signed him. Could be Udon. Could be Weiss, Wheel.
How do you feel about Kotkaniemi coming back up from the AHL and getting straight into playoffs?
I think, let's be real here. What do we have to lose? We were, like we just mentioned, we were from a no playoff situation to actually having a chance. So why not try things and not just go with maybe what worked before, only with set lines? We should give guys a chance. And I think Kotkaniemi could be that guy that could wake up and then maybe be a potential freaking amazing passer on like a first or second power play line if he plays really well.
I think he's talented for sure, but do you think that Claude Julien is gonna trust him in that third line role? Because we know that he likes his his face-off guys and his defensive guys whenever. And Kotkaniemi was that in his first year. He was really reliable, but maybe it might take a little bit of time to reacclimate to that role. So, do you think he can be trusted in that role, or no?
I mean, I'm looking at who else could we put there. It'd have to be like Domi maybe at center.
Yeah,
but like I think I'd rather bet on Kotkaniemi, who is a natural center, than Domi, who's usually supposed to be a winger at least.
Yeah, that's true. And we got that line's got some pretty. It's like pretty balanced too, where it's like Domi can score, but he's also a really underrated passer. I think his passing's elite.
Yeah.
Then you got Kotkaniemi, who's just like good all around. He's got a cannon of a shot, but he's also got some great playmaking when he's in his groove. And Byron's not necessarily a playmaker or play driver, but he can score and he's got that speed. So you got Domi and Kotkaniemi like spinning Byron on breakaways.
Yeah, he's also really aware of like turnovers, like making turnovers. I always think of Byron as kind of like Mark Stone, of like making plays out of nothing kind of thing, right, especially with his speed. So yeah, I think those line could be great. Tatar, Danault, Gallagher, and then Drouin, Suzuki, Armia kind of shaky there maybe. But Domi, Kotkaniemi, Byron, I think, like you said, could complement each other. And then the fourth line is still solid with Lehkonen and Evans and whoever we decide to put. That's still pretty solid, I would say.
Yeah, honestly, that fourth line could be surprising because I think Evans is a good young talent who he's got like a fire in his belly. He wants to prove himself at this level. And Lehkonen, he's just like a really solid all-around player and pretty underrated.
Exactly.
Even though he maybe doesn't have that offensive potential anymore, it's like you can plug him into your bottom six almost anywhere, and he'll serve you well. So, and that's what you don't want to be giving up costly goals in the playoffs, obviously. So he does his job well there.
Yeah.
One of my thoughts is maybe playing Paling at wing because even though it wasn't an ideal rookie season for Paling, actually he was moved to the wing. I don't know if you remember a little bit into the season with the Canadians, and obviously he didn't
Yeah.
tear it up, but he's kind of like he looked to me like more comfortable with less defensive assignments, and he's big, and it's kind of the same thing where we saw him score his 3 in his first
Legend.
game. Yeah, Paling better than Matthews, but
Change my mind.
but I think he could play a power forward role really well and like an agitator role really well. That could fit the playoffs. So I could see him slotting in on the wing. Honestly, it could be interesting.
Yeah,
Plus, I
I'd have
think
to agree with that.
can Lehkonen play the right side as well? I think, or am I just making
Yeah,
that
I
up?
think he plays both sides.
Yeah. So like, let's say your bottom line is Paling, Evans, and Lehkonen. I like that. I think that's a good forward line. It's a sort of hard nosed line that gets in your face and pisses you off, but it can also like score potentially. Like I could back that fourth line.
Yeah, same here. I think that could be the ideal lineup for us. The thing now is, do you think Bergevin, regrets trades, or do we wish we hadn't made certain trades, or are we still happy with what we did? What do you think about that?
Honestly, I can't say necessarily for Bergeron because he seems to be pretty decided on bringing Kovalchuk back to Montreal.
Yeah,
But and that's why he traded him, for to a contender. But at the same time, I as much as the Kovalchuk sort of stint there was fun, he was really slowing down at the end there, and I think that it was
true.
smart asset management to trade him when he did. Like I don't know if he's going to be making the impact that he would be billed to make, and he's he's one of those players where again you're not sure what you're gonna get from him, so it's like in the playoffs you want consistency and you want to be able to rely on guys the whole playoffs. So if he has like a good first round maybe, but then he just flames out like he did in the regular season, then it's obviously not ideal. So
That is 100% true. And then, but we also had Scandella who could help us on D.
oh yeah,
Cousins, Thompson. Those are guys that are fourth line. But I'm looking at our fourth line. That's pretty. I think our offensive side is still pretty good. I don't really regret any of the trades he did. The only one I would think of is probably Scandella because he's pretty good in terms of a mobile defenseman. But then again, I think he's probably comparable to Kulak, probably a bit better.
yeah.
But it's not like a huge loss. So I don't think we regret any trade because there weren't, first of all, any big ones that could like change the way our season went. It's just more of asset management and trying
Yeah.
getting pieces together.
Again, it was such a smart trade where he basically turned nothing into something with the Scandella trade, where I think
Yeah,
he got like a second back when he just gave up a fourth from Buffalo. So
that
I thought
is, yeah,
I thought it was super smart. Those are the kind of little moves where if you make them consistently, then they can really help shore up your prospect pool in the future and really help you out. Where you might need that little boost to get you over the hump, then that can be it.
100%.
The last thing, what do you think about Weiss in the playoffs? Because obviously we have memories of like the Dutch Gretzky or whatever, but he's I don't honestly see very much in him. But like I remember in the playoffs a couple years ago, he was just like sort of dynamic. So do you think he can sort of rekindle that and maybe sort of find a little bit of his former self in the playoffs, or do you think he's kind of over the hill?
I think he's still got speed, which is the main thing I think you have to have in the NHL right now. But I think he could potentially be on that fourth line and really probably hit people, maybe get into a fight, not a big weight match, but like just spark up energy for the top line. So I think yeah, he could rekindle that what he did basically against Tampa. Probably not as much of a goal scorer, but you never know. Anything can happen during a playoff run.
Right. Now that we've sort of gone through that, I think we can look at another sort of interesting aspect of these playoffs, which is going to be the fact that we're going to be playing in hub cities. And it's not only the lineups that are going to count, it's like the fact that it's going to be just an entirely different atmosphere because
Totally.
no fans in the stands. And honestly, it's you don't have much of like any home ice advantage or whatever. Like home ice advantage basically boils down to like the benches being in different places.
Yeah.
So how do we think that's going to affect the playoffs, and like what do we think is going to be sort of the outcome of that?
I think maybe things they could do is like on the jumbotron for like the players to get fired up. Maybe they could have like fans in bars, like. But then again, maybe some players that are shy and not really well with crowds, like rookies, maybe are going to play better in front of no crowds. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think crowds do make the playoffs what they are, but at the same time, we do have to respect the safety. Maybe we could have like fewer fans? Like, is that even a possibility? Um,
Maybe.
it
I
just sucks because hockey and any sport in front of no fans does suck, but no sport at all is worse. So I'm still happy about it. We still get to watch it at home. I'm just thinking about the players. Are they still going to be motivated to get that cup, or is it going to be like meh?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think obviously, as you said, they'll still be motivated, but it's just like sometimes it gives you that subconscious boost, and not
Hmm.
having the fans there is kind of just a whole different ball game. I don't know if anyone listening is into soccer at all or football, depending on what you want to call it, where you're from. But I am I would say definitely more so than most, even though hockey obviously number one. And the Bundesliga, which is the German league, just came back with no fans. And I was watching the
Damn,
highlights for that, and like, man, it's so depressing because
it
you know,
must be.
the
Holy,
the players, they score a goal and then they peel off to like celebrate to the fans, and they realize that there's no fans there, so they just kind of do this like weak fist bump or something. They're just like, yeah, and like you can hear them because there's no noise or whatever. So like the cameras pick up everything, so you can just hear them like, yeah, and like they're like few teammates just like clapping, and it's like so depressing. So
I'm sure Bettman has some kind of a plan to like reinstate fans in terms of like social distancing. Maybe like half the arena is going to be full, or a quarter, or like I don't know.
I mean,
But there has to be some kind of atmosphere there.
it,
It can't
it,
be the whole playoff run without fans. I think.
if you're Bettman, then that's sort of your specialty, because this guy's a lawyer, and like I'm sure he's dialed into like what he can or cannot do. But if let's say like there's a big spike in corona that gets traced back to an NHL game, that's a whole PR nightmare on your hands that you don't necessarily want to have. So
So
honestly,
true.
I do not see a reality where fans could be in the buildings. I think that it's just gonna be a reality that players have to accept, that we're gonna have to play with no fans immediately present. Um, although I guess
Maybe they could
I
be
guess in this world,
streams. Some kind of interaction between hockey players and fans, just so that the players still feel the fans, even though they're not present there. Maybe some kind of, like I
maybe,
said,
and
on the jumbotron, like a stream of like certain bars where there's a lot of atmosphere, people watching the games, type thing.
yeah, but so part of me also thinks that these players, they have probably played juniors or whatever, and maybe in juniors you're playing on a team like that doesn't necessarily draw the biggest crowds, and the arena is really quiet, but you see these teams, and like obviously it's junior players really care because this is sort of you know,
the
they're trying
team.
to make the show and everything, or it's some people like this is the highest hockey they'll ever play, so they're yeah, even with no fans, they're still getting hyped and whatever. And obviously, NHL it's like a different ball game as well. But I think that they'll still be hyped to an extent, but like yeah, it will not be the same for sure. And
And like you mentioned,
we'll have to see what teams adapt better because this could be like a big factor is what team can adapt better to the new environment.
same with the few rinks. If there's only like two rinks, for example, if let's say it's in Vegas, then Vegas knows their arena better than anyone else. So could that factor in, even though they're probably going to be getting used to it? But like for the first few games, maybe you
Yeah,
never know. That could be a factor, like you said, as well as having no fans.
yeah, just feeling that sense of being at home and maybe being a little bit in more control than you
Yeah.
would be otherwise playing in like a foreign rink. So yeah.
Talking about teams, we should probably talk about the two no's in terms of the votes
Mhm.
for approving the 24 playoff team format, where Tampa and Carolina said no. Why do you think they said no, and what do you think on that?
Well, I think that for Tampa, they're just not really happy about the round robin format because, um, you know, they played so well all season, and it potentially feels maybe like they're being I'm not gonna say robbed, but all their hard work is sort of going to waste a little bit because now they still have to play these top teams for some good seedings.
That's true.
But but you know, I think that it's quite obvious as well that the round robin isn't necessarily only for the seeding. It's also just so that the top teams can get their legs going. Because
Exactly.
if you know lower teams get warm and you know they come out of a series and then they you know the top seeds come out really wonky from having not played in so long, then obviously that's not ideal. So I think that's the main purpose. But I could see why they'd be annoyed. Uh, and then Carolina, honestly, I'm not too sure, but I think that maybe they're just not happy with the matchup they're getting with New York, and I'm, I'm, I mean, I could understand that as well, but honestly, it's like it's not the worst matchup out there, so you know,
Yeah, and then they only play the third and seed, so it's not like they have the worst path to the cup. But maybe something that could affect. Maybe people don't like that there's so many teams battling for positions. Maybe they would like, um, I don't know, only till 10, like only till Florida to get in, and the Wild, maybe like the 11 and 12 get off, just so that it's fewer teams. I don't know. Maybe they feel like that's unfair
maybe.
because Montreal was basically on the verge of like not even making the playoffs, and
Well,
now
they were
we have
about
the
to be
50-50.
negative. They were about to be
Yeah,
under 500, and it's not even like under true 500. It's like under pity point 500, where they're getting pity points for losses in overtime. So,
yeah.
but honestly, I'm looking at the standings right now, and I could see their point a little bit as well because if you're going for fairness, it's maybe not that fair because Carolina right now, they're sitting at 81 points, and if you take Dallas for example, they're sitting at 82 points, and Dallas is in that top tier round robin.
True.
So they get a bye just because like their conference or their division even is weaker. And you know moreover like the Hurricanes are 38 and 25 and the Stars are 37 and 24 right now, so like they actually have more wins. So I could see how they'd be
Maybe,
annoyed with
yeah.
that. But then again, it's like, you know, it's no one saw this situation coming. I think we should just be happy that there's actually a scenario where hockey can return. And everyone's getting screwed in some way, pretty much. I would say, aside from maybe like the low teams or like the you know lowest teams. But
Bottom of the barrel.
yeah, but aside from that, like I would say just you know get your working boots on and play. Like you can't be sort of always complaining or whatever. You just got to be happy that you get a chance to play for the Stanley Cup because also, you know, if you're even unless you're a really good player in the NHL, like how many cracks at the Stanley Cup are you getting? Like maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah,
So you don't want to have one of those chances taken away. So for your players, like let them play for it. Let them have a crack.
exactly. And now that I'm thinking about it, think about the fact that now that 24 teams can battle for a playoff spot, how's that going to affect draft? Like we're about to get like the 6th overall pick, but now we can make the playoffs and not even get a good pick, Like
Yeah,
that can like even though we want the cup, like what if we don't even make it past the I say first round and we end up with like the 15th pick? Like
yeah,
that would suck.
for sure. As much as I want the Canadians to get into the playoffs and make some noise, I kind of wish that was not at the expense of a potentially high pick,
Exactly.
especially at in this kind of a really deep draft or supposedly deep. Obviously, we're not scouts, but that's what I've been hearing is that it's a really deep draft. So
And then maybe we can end it off with the fan awards.
what are the most interesting categories? I think best dressed that goes to Matthews. Like that's pretty obvious. I would say.
Really?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went for pasta.
Really?
That guy has style, man. I mean, it's two different things. Like Pasta's suits are pretty much like carnival-ish, and then Matthews is pretty much just like really, really on point.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like two
that's
types of
the
things.
thing is like it's not only his pregame attire or whatever. It's like you go on his Instagram and this man, it's like he has style undeniably. Like he's just got this. If you saw him on the street, like, and you didn't know he was a hockey player, you'd still know like that guy. He's got it together.
He
So
means business.
yeah. So
I think for the best building, that's not even like this should be the Bell Center. There's a freaking mistake in their
yeah,
algorithm.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
UP as well for the mascot.
Who even
Um,
like? What even is the uh Capital One? Is that what the Caps one is? Caps Arena. Hold on, let me look it up. Yeah,
is it
Capital One Arena. Yeah,
like what the hell is that, bruh?
it's
Get
like
on my level.
whoever who says, oh, if there's one thing I want to do before I die, it's I want to go to Capital One Arena. Not sure about
I
that.
mean, yeah.
Vegas kind of makes sense because like they're new fans, they're kind of rowdy.
What's your best goal of the year for you?
For mine, it was the McDavid dangle through the Leafs.
Yeah, I had to put that one as well.
I
That
thought
was
about
epic.
this. I thought about the Svechnikov thing because it's really hard to pull off in the show, but at the same time, a lot of like like whatever like midget kids can do that. So uh,
Yeah,
I thought that even though it was impressive to do it in the NHL, it's not on the same level as actually just dangling through everyone like that.
especially like McDavid going through Riley like that. That was go change those tires.
He's a great defenseman and he's a great skater. So he just walked around him. He's insane, honestly. McDavid's on another level.
Yeah. Best Sally, what'd you put?
I put Merzlikins and Foligno just because I love
They're
the
dope.
the Mersey story. Like and also I gotta give it to Foligno because he's got like a good leg strength to not fall over after that. Like he legitimately just
Facts.
jumped at him. I don't know how he didn't fall over and injure himself. If it were me, I would have just
Yeah,
toppled
break his
over.
back or something. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how he did it. He's a man mountain. Although I do like Panarin's kick as well. That
yeah,
was pretty epic.
I like Kuznetsov's bird, but it wasn't even there
Oh yeah. That's classic, but I mean at the same time that he's been doing that for a while now, so it's not necessarily
this
exclusive to
year.
this season. Yeah.
Yeah. What about the best feel good moment? What'd you put?
I mean, as a goalie, it's like what I gotta put. Like you get that one chance in the NHL, and like that must have been so special. So I would. There's not much I wouldn't give to be able to do that as well. Even though I would probably get let up, but it's like you gotta take
Yeah.
that chance if you. That's the thing is that not only was it an amazing moment they just got to go in there, but like the Hurricanes really didn't give the Leafs a sniff, and they actually got
Yep.
them a win. So it was so epic. Like I love to see that, and for me as a goalie, like just seeing him live that dream, it was insane. So I had to pick that.
Yeah, I have to agree that it's epic, but I was contemplating between that one, Louis and Jake DeBrusk's interview because like son and father
Yeah,
type
yeah,
moment, which
for
is
sure.
sick. But I had to go with Bobby Ryan's comeback, man. Like that is honestly for me that's epic. Like
Yeah,
going through addiction and battling over that and all the trauma he's had, and then finally coming back and scoring a hat trick like that. That to me is like the story you can't make this shit up.
yeah, I agree. Like that's definitely a close second for me because the guys had I don't know if you've definitely seen the documentary. I don't know if
On
our-
Sportsnet.
yeah, I don't know if our listeners have, but like this guy's not had an easy life. He's not having an easy path for sure, and he's struggling, and he took a accountability, and he got better, and just seeing him come back and you know, do it in a big way and having the whole crowd stand up and salute him and seeing the tears in his eyes. Like that's what sports is all about, like at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we can look at big hits or like nice goals or whatever, but like that's when sports at its best, when sports helps this guy get over, his personal demons and come back stronger. So I just thought that was a beautiful moment for sure.
I have to agree. And I think on that note, we can end it.
Well, let me just give an honorable mention first because
Okay.
Voracek blew everyone out of the water for best beard, and I gotta say that
Nope.
guy's got some
Sorry, but
beautiful.
no.
Yes, he did, dude. Who else?
Dude, Jordy Ben's beard is legendary.
No, no. Like I appreciate Ben, but 54% Voracek. That's beautiful. As a man who's had his struggles growing any type of facial hair, I gotta hand it to him because that's well, both Ben and Voracek, both are things of beauty. But anyway, just being nominated for that category is an honor in itself, honestly.
Exactly. So I think with all that being said, everyone just stay safe. Um, and we look forward to life, including hockey, getting back to normal and really just enjoy these times with your family or wherever you are, just trying to make the best out of it. And my name is Tyler,
And my name's Louis.
and we'll see you guys soon.